I'm in my studio here today to talk about the classical figure. This is a model of the Greek sculpture of Hermes. Now, the greatest Greek sculptures were done in the 4th century BC by Praxiteles and Polykleitos. And we're going to talk about what makes this classical. It's the ideal figure. And in ancient Greece, the athlete was the classical figure. And their art was based on that and mathematically as well. So I'm going to show you some examples of that and why today we should be drawing the figure in the classical sense. We don't just draw the figure to copy the figure. There's an ideal in anatomy and in form. And we'll take a closer look at this one, and then we'll look at some others. When you think of Michelangelo's David, he looked at sculpture like this. This is during the time of the Renaissance is when they were unearthing sculptures like this. And it profoundly influenced his art, and not only his sculpture, but his fresco paintings. So just study the beautiful forms. This is what classical means. It's not realism. It goes way beyond realism. Realism is just copying what's in front of us. The classical is digging in and digging deeper, and this is when the artist begins to see and not just to copy. This is the Venus de Milo, which was the ideal female sculpture at the time in ancient Greece. Now just look at this next selection of sculptures. Look at the twist of that torso, the rib cage on the pelvis. Pretty powerful. And here's another, just shows the action. Even without the head and arms, you can see the action. Here's a classical head. Beautiful. And then we'll have another classical head. That's all about the features. The features are classical, which are idealized, if you will. There's that twist of that torso again. See, artists love to study the torso as it twists on the rib cage on the pelvis. And here's a good example of showing the entire figure. Here's the Laocoon. They unearthed this in the time of Michelangelo, and he was pretty overwhelmed with it. And you can see the influence. Here's the discus thrower. I think most people are familiar with this one. Another classical figure. See the hips are twisted on the rib cage and the head is turned. This is the Hermes. The original Hermes, the one I showed you in the beginning, was a model of this one. This is Venus. I believe this is Venus. It's a tremendously classical sculpture. There's Hercules. They sculpted the figure of Hercules many times. I believe this is Diana of the Hunt. Look at the action in this and the way the material flows with the figure. This is called the Victory of Samothrace, and very famous sculpture. There's the Laocoon again. And there's the Venus de Milo, the entire figure. So beautiful, beautiful sculpture. So just follow me on these videos having to do with the figure, because a lot of artists still like to draw the figure and paint the figure. And we'll talk about building this figure from the inside out, with the big masses, and develop the structure and then the anatomy. And then we'll go into all the different techniques, different papers, using charcoal, red chalk, black chalk, and white chalk. So stay tuned. Just keep watching my Patreon site, and you'll see more of these as I develop them.